Charlie Keating.
Yep. You were a boxer.
Well, I suppose it wasn't boxing that broke my nose, it was in a hurling game, oddly enough. So, there you have it.
What year did you box?
Oh,
Did you start? When did you start?
I boxed, I mean to say, ever since I was that high, we were at it. I mean to say, I remember Dad, the Lord be good to him, bought me a pair of boxing gloves, 6-ounce boxing gloves for Christmas. And was I disgusted when I got them on Christmas morning. One set of boxing gloves. So I says, what am I going to do with these? So anyway, a few days later, we were along by the Mall River, and lo and behold, there we saw a parson in the water. So we went down, got our Wellingtons and walked in, and lo and behold, there was a pair of 6-ounce boxing gloves. So we had a set. Now these were wringing wet, and I remember bringing them home to my mother, and she said, you know, that they're useless, but she said, look, she'd try and dry them out for us. She put them in the hot press, and they got a little bit hard. They were the harder of the two sets. So we set up a ring down on the banks, down now where Hotel Westport is, right? We set up a ring there. It was a very basic. And any sucker we could get to go into that ring, I mean to say, it was terrible really, but we destroyed a lot of good fishermen. But from there, I suppose, as Peter was saying, the starters in the lecture hall, and we'd go down looking, but it was usually for more senior or older boxers, but we'd go down to watch John Sheridan, because John was an amazing man. And all those people, we have to thank them all down through the years that did look after us, but I'll talk about them later. But John would do the workout as the guys were doing the workout on the floor. John would be there, he'd take the skipping rope, John would be going like this, next thing John would be doing the exercises, and next thing he'd start shadow boxing. And he was doing everything along with the guys. We were totally fascinated by John Sheridan because he was very agile. I don't know what age John would have been at that time. Then we, as they said, we got the town hall for a short period of time, the front room there, and from there we went down to the vocational school, the woodwork room, and we had a good few trainers there. Porky, of course, was the main trainer. Porky was everything, really. He was the front man. He was a good masseuse. He could give you a good rub. A lot of the things at the time, I remember, like it wouldn't be allowed, and you wouldn't be allowed to use them now. He used to use the smelling salts, which was very good. Sometimes when you needed a bit of a gee up. And he had another habit of, if things weren't going well and he was in your corner, he'd get the soap or he'd get the sponge, and as you were going out for the next round, he'd put it down at the back of your singlet, so you'd cold water run right down your legs, and it looked like as if you
shock treatment.
You did it in your trousers, like, you know. But, he was a remarkable man. Then we had Paddy Halpin, ex-guard, tough man, and of course Brendan was involved in the club then, and so was Niall. Niall won a Connacht title as far as I remember, and Paddy was good. Paddy was good physical man, knew how to do the exercises, and then Pete and Larry, they got in this shower. Remember that, Pete? And of course we said, this is great now, because there was no showers, there was nothing, it was very basic. There was a running tap, I think, outside, remember that, out in the yard.
What building was that in?
There was the old vocational school,
Okay.
the woodwork room. So, anyway, they were putting in the shower, and we said, this is great, now we'll have a nice hot shower, a nice warm shower. And Paddy Halpin, no, it's a cold shower. Like it or lump it. So I don't know how many people ever use that cold shower. I know, I didn't anyway. And from there, you know, things progressed. I suppose we were fighting. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff going on. I was involved in, and most of the lads were. Our first team for Mayo, we represented Mayo in the Easter Cup. That was a great occasion. Usually we'd be up against Galway. Roscommon hadn't much boxing then. Sligo had. And then after that, the Duggan Shield. Usually, we won a few Duggan Shields. We'd be fighting Ulster, sometimes Leinster, mostly Munster, for some unknown reason.
Who was Duggan?
I don't know who Duggan was. The same as Heaslip, I'm sure, is the sponsor of the competition. And then on to various titles here and there for this, that and the other. But as I said, there was a lot of guys then that didn't win any titles at all, which was a shame because they were good enough. They were great. You know, it wasn't all about winning titles. A lot of good friends. I remember Jimmy Burke. I'd say he had the greatest potential he had a great ability. Jerry Cork, and I could name thousands. There's a lot of lads out there that were unfortunate that didn't, with another little bit of luck. And then again, going to the stadium didn't suit everyone. I settled in the stadium, I just settled into it. Some guys who had great potential and were very good, the stadium was just too much for them. I don't know why, but it can happen. And
what did you win yourself?
I won an Irish junior title welterweight. I won a few youth, international, senior, reserve. A load of Mayo and North Connacht, various titles, but I should have won. Really, now I think of it, I should have won. I was unfortunate not to get to the youth. The youth, I represented Connacht both times, but I got injured, unfortunately. But I should have won a youth title. And there was a senior title there to be taken as well. But it just didn't happen. Afterwards, when I packed up, I was boxing for quite a good while. I took up training with the juveniles in the gym, in the first gym and the second gym. This is the third gym, I call it. And then I went in with Pete Callaghan as assistant trainer. And Pete, like that Martin Cochran was talking about, Pete was an absolute gem. Because he never imposed himself on anyone. And he of course, he was a poet as well. He wrote some fantastic stuff. He wrote a tribute to Pete when he won the title, I remember, and he recited it brilliantly. He wrote one or two lovely pieces on. His dad was the gardener, head gardener in Westport House when Westport House was something else, like, and Pete learned a lot from him. He was a great gardener. In fact, he worked for the McAleers in Mallow Cottage. He did all their gardening. I'm sure you would be fairly familiar with that garden. You would. And he bred the finest of Connemara ponies. Love Connemara ponies. And after our training, what we do is we go into the west, the two of us, and I'd have a pint or two, and of course he'd have a rum and black. He loved the rum and black, and we'd have a great night there after our training session, and we'd go our separate ways. But yeah, he was one of the rest. And then of course we had the medical people, which were forgotten. I remember Dr. Tynan one night. He did stand in medical doctor for one particular night. We were out in the Starlight. Remember that, Pete? And they brought back Josie Mulroy and Pete MacDonald. They flew them into Castlebar. It was Vincent Conlon and Porrick. I remember they were the men behind that. And of course they were the sponsors, in fairness to the poor Vincent passed away there recently. Vincent was, they sponsored the Conlon Shield. The Conlon Shield is still in operation, yeah. And sure, that night, John Healy, the Lord be good to him, he was the MC. No, there's not a lot said about John Healy. And I don't know why. I think he was one of the greatest men that ever stood in this town. He created Belclare House, and he had the Starlight. The Starlight was the state-of-the-art dance hall at the time. And it was lit up with stars up in the ceiling. And in the ring was centre of the dance floor. The dance floor, I'd say, was about this floor here. I'd say it was about 10 times the size of this, was it, Pete?
Oh, yeah.
It was. Divided in two, and he had but he was something else. But I remember the night I fought one particular night in the ring. I was on the ropes a lot. This guy from Connemara was sort of banging me about the place, but didn't the ring? I kept on the ropes. Didn't the ring go on the middle? And I remember Dr. Tynan getting down, and he tied a rope on the shackles. Do you remember that, Pete? And of course, Sean Tobin was our medical officer then, and then later, the Right Honourable Gentleman Ollie Whyte. I don't know was he much good of a doctor, but I tell you one thing,
Useless.
Great crack. So, like, I mean, to see, you could talk about. Larry Hingerton was a genius. He stayed with us. Larry had boxed in the lighter divisions, I suppose, after the war and up into the 50s, and he was very fleet-footed. And Larry used to come in and spar with us. In fact, when we were juveniles, he was very good. And there was a lot of great characters, and like we're just looking back now, and that time in the Starlight, the tournament was it was a full house on both occasions, and when you go down to the pavilions, that was packed out too, and that was always on Palm Sunday night. That was our tournament, Palm Sunday. And they'd be up, getting in the windows to get in. Remember that? And the smoke. I can always remember the smoke because everyone was smoking. Then it seemed to be. And when you get into the ring, you wouldn't see anyone. You wouldn't see anyone outside. Mike, we were talking about that. All you would see was a total din of smoke. You were going right into the ring, and next thing it was. The bell rang. Another man was the bell ringer, Mick Duffy. Mick was a great character. Mick travelled all over the place. Any tournament you could find Mick. And if you were in trouble, Mick could save you. It could be, if you were on top, it could be a very long round for your opposition. If you were on the receiving end of it, it was shortened up a bit. But there was great characters, great camaraderie, and fair dues to Pete. He's kept the show on the road. It's not easy in these times, and all I can say is the best of luck to you, lads.